What is going on, guys? This is Joe Young coming at you another video for the week. So this week, let's get you guys an update on the 54-gallon reef tank. This is going to be the very first maintenance for the tank. I have not been doing any water changes. I've been kind of letting the tank kind of mature and kind of build up the bile load. So as you can see, the tank is going through the new tank algae bloom stage, and a lot of it has to do with the current lighting setup for this tank. This isn't going to be the permanent light for the tank, but I wanted to keep it here for now. Just one, light up the tank, two, help the macroalgae establish in this tank. Obviously, you guys can't see anything right now, but throughout the video, you'll actually be able to see some of the new fish in here. I did add in some new tangs into this tank. So the plan is once the tank matures, probably in another month and a half or so, I'll add in the Radeon XR15s, similar to the other setups I have, so that actually we can start growing some bubble tip anemones and some possible soft corals in here as well. So since I'm actually adding tangs into the setup, that is why I have that container holding the macroalgae, or else, the tangs will actually just demolish that. So let's talk a little bit about the new fish. So I've been quarantining these guys for about 2 months before adding them into this new setup. Sure, I could have done the quarantine phase in this new setup, but this tank was going through cycling for about 2 months anyways, and all the treatments and stuff is a lot easier on the budget if it was in a smaller tank. So these guys were in their own quarantine outside in the garage for a while. So it seems like when these guys were, together for, several weeks, they figured out the pecking order. So the fighting has gone down dramatically, and it seems like they're getting along very nicely. What I've been doing probably weekly is giving them a nice like macroalgae treat. Some of the clarpas that I have on the other tank, I have a ton of it, so I just kind of pull like maybe a handful of it, clamp it, and just kind of throw it down in this tank, and they seem to enjoy it. Now I do plan on probably adding in maybe two more fish, one rasp just to help control with any pests, and probably another fish. I'm thinking of another tang, but I'm not quite sure which one or what kind of fish. It might be a tang, it might be something else. We'll kind of play it by ear as the tank matures, and as I kind of put some of these fish into quarantine and whatnot. And we'll probably definitely have to add in a few more snails to help control the algae in the glass. I only started it off with like maybe 4 or 5 just so that I can kind of gauge how much algae they can eat, and it seems like they can control it okay, but it's still getting out of hand. So I'll probably need to at least for sure add in another 5 or so snails just to see where that level of control is at. So let's go down to the sump and let's talk about the equipment real quick. So I did finally add in the skimmer into the sump, but it is not on yet. I'm still going to wait until this tank matures a little bit longer before turning it on so that I can get a consistent skim on the tank. Right now, the tank is just kind of going through its stages, so yeah, there might not be much to skim anyways. On top of that, I did add in the auto top off pump. I originally was going to do it earlier during the setup so that I don't have to keep replacing the water. But what happened was the actual pump failed, and I had to replace it and just never got around to actually looking up the part and actually replacing it. Finally did, so I added in the pump onto the reservoir. So yeah, so that's in now, so it makes things a lot easier. I only have to fill up the reservoir tank every week versus before I was doing it kind of like every other day or so, like that, something like that. So because it was evaporating pretty well and pretty good in this tank. All right, guys, and that is the update for the tank. One more thing I want to ask from you guys: if you guys have any suggestions for a nice wrasse to go with this current stocking, and maybe another fish that will get along with the tanks, leave in the comments below. I would like to kind of see my options in terms of what I like to keep in this tank as well. If you guys aren't subscribed yet, make sure you guys are subscribed. And like always, until next time, guys, peace.